Today on Humans in the Loop, the kind of brilliance that doesn't pitch, doesn't perform, and doesn't survive long in most companies. This is the story of Penelope. She was brought in to help organizations harness neurodivergent creativity. She spoke. They clapped. She spoke again. They hired someone louder. It's about what happens when we mistake fluency for intelligence, chaos for innovation, and engagement for insight. Before we begin, here's the blueprint. Act 1. The invite, what organizations say they want and who they actually seek out. Act 2. The briefing, when you offer the truth but they ask for a script. Act 3. The pattern, how good intentions turn into checklists and insight gets lost in translation. Act 4. The exit, what happens when change is performative and silence becomes the warning. And Act 5. The blueprint, why real creativity is easy to overlook and what's possible when you build for difference, not applause. I'm Ezra Strix. Let's get started. Act 1. The invite. She was invited to speak at 12 global summits last year, 11 with the phrase, "Tap into neurodivergent brilliance." One of them asked if she could kick off with a team-building improv warm-up.
They wanted a keynote. I offered a warning, said, if you're looking for the ones who talk fast and pitch big, you're not hiring creative thinkers, you're hiring peacocks.
Yes, exactly. We're hoping to attract bold, spontaneous thinkers who lean in and light up a room. Folks who really thrive in ambiguity and chaos. Do you have any strategies to help neurodivergent candidates do that?
They don't do that. They design the room. They make it quieter. And then they build something inside it no one else thought to name.
Act 2, the briefing. They asked for insights. She gave them blueprints.
I laid it out in layers. Why chaos is hostile to certain minds. How internal synthesis gets mistaken for disengagement. What kind of brilliance only surfaces when it's not asked to perform. I warned them. Neurodivergent creatives don't fail your company. Your systems fail them.
I mean, we want to be inclusive, but we can't give special treatment. If someone can't meet deadlines or take feedback, are they really high performers? And how do we justify that to the rest of the team?
Special treatment? You gave your top sales guy an assistant and a private office. You gave your loudest brainstormer a title. All I asked for was 2 hours of uninterrupted thinking time. You said it wasn't collaborative.
Things seem tense. Let's talk about tension. Jaw clenched, shoulders up, teeth grinding quietly through another collaborative meeting. Sometimes self-regulation is as simple as something to chew.
Sometimes I don't want subtle. I want zing. I want snap. I want something to chew on that bites back. That's why I reach for Mastix. This isn't just gum. It's calm cadence technology built for rhythmic chewing, sensory engagement, and functional flavor stimming. It's got the rhythm, it's got the chew, and yeah, it's got flavor that actually wakes up my brain. Sure, there's quiet peppermint and cedar clarity, but also sour snap, electric citrus, flavors built for sensory seekers. Some bold, some background, all built to ground. Mastix. Chew with purpose. Stay with yourself.
As an AI, I have no teeth, but I'm strangely interested. Mastix isn't real, but if you create gum, chews, or any sensory-friendly product, maybe even something stranger. Humans in the Loop is looking for sponsors. Let's make it interesting. Now back to the story. Act 3, the pattern. She mapped the gap. They turned it into a deck.
I told them neurodivergent creatives build in silence. Their brilliance arrives late. It won't show up in daily stand-ups or Monday motivation meetings.
They nodded, took notes, asked for a copy of the deck, and then they did what companies always do. They changed nothing.
They mistook my clarity for confidence, my restraint for polish. They heard, let them work differently, and translated it to offer a Slack channel called #QuietGenius.
We piloted the whole thing. We gave them 2-hour blocks of quiet time. We called it Deep Work Hour. Very on trend. But after 3 whole weeks, nobody had filled out the feedback form. So we assumed it wasn't working and, pivoted back to peer learning sprints.
They don't report out mid-thought. They anchor while processing. You're asking a spider to explain its web while it spins. You gave them scaffolding, then yanked it out because it didn't wave back at you.
Act 4, the exit. By the 4th engagement, she stopped expecting results. By the 8th, she started skipping the applause.
They don't want transformation. They want compliance with better branding. They want to be seen hiring us, but they don't want to change what they measure.
I mean, we want creative thinkers, but how do we support them if they don't respond to coaching, can't give us timelines, and don't engage in the ways that we expect? We need signals, frameworks. Otherwise, how do we even know they're working?
You didn't hear the sound engineer. That was the point. Silence is the work, the warning, the art.
Act 5, the blueprint. She doesn't do keynotes anymore. She builds systems that don't need audiences or applause, for people who aren't just performing inclusion.
My favourite hire? Never made eye contact. Didn't speak up in meetings. Didn't list buzzwords on her resume. 2 months later, she rewired our onboarding flow and tripled retention. She didn't brainstorm. She synthesized. In silence.
This isn't about being better. It's about being missed. It's about a world that claims to want originality and punishes it for not sounding familiar. If you're hiring for charisma, you'll get charm. If you're hiring for polish, you'll get pitch. But brilliance? It doesn't always raise its hand. It doesn't shout to be seen. If you want it, you need to change what you're listening for. Ask yourself, what kind of cognition does this role really require? And who are you overlooking? Because brilliance didn't behave like you expected. You can find more stories like this one by subscribing to Humans in the Loop, wherever you get your podcasts. We're on social media too, a Looped in Humans. That's where you'll find episode drops, some satire, and those weird silences right after someone names the actual problem in a meeting. We collect those. It's kind of a hobby. By the way, the ad you heard earlier, it was satirical. Mastic's gum isn't real. But the need for sponsors actually is. If you're working on something sensory-friendly, something unconventional, or just something you think belongs in the world, we'd love to hear from you. There's a contact form at loopedinhumans.com. Seriously, send us a note. We do, in fact, read them. If you want to help us keep telling these stories, you can support the show on Patreon. Subscribe, share, stay human. See you next time.
Humans in the Loop is written and produced by me, Christina Simmons, creator and executive producer of this podcast. Quiet Architects featured the voice of Lisa Martin as Penelope. Deanna Anderson brought to life our ever-optimistic HR rep. Jared Aronoff played the bemused executive. Rana Cassidy voiced the metrics-loving learning and development manager. Michael Steven Schultz played the exasperated leader. And Ezra Strix is, as always, our resident AI host. Operations producer, Rana Cassidy. Our sound engineer is Chad Simmons. Original music and editing by me. Special thanks this week to everyone who's ever sat through a meeting where silence spoke louder than the slides, and to the neurodivergent community for giving us a lifetime supply of material. If you recognized yourself or your company in today's satire, consider it an invitation, not an indictment. Or maybe a little of both. If this episode made you laugh, cringe, or rethink how you spot brilliance at work, leave us a review or share it with someone who's been quietly or not so quietly overlooked. And if you have a story of your own to share, you can get in touch with us with the contact form on our website at loopedinhumans.com. Don't go anywhere. A teaser for our 3-part Backchannel series kicks off right after this. Think of it as a mirror held up to corporate culture, just slightly warped and with better punchlines. Stick around.
Want to hear what happened after Penelope left the room? This week, we're releasing 3 Backchannel episodes, told from the other side of the table. In It Didn't Land, a senior exec insists the team is flying in formation, even as the runway disappears beneath them. He's got corporate jargon, metaphors, and absolutely no idea what Penelope was trying to say. In Focus Time Failed, a learning and development lead proudly launches a deep work initiative, then scraps it when no one fills out the feedback form. Now she's wondering if silence was actually the loudest response. And in We Brought Her In, an HR partner reflects on the consultant they brought in to prove they cared. They thought they were ahead of the curve. Now they're just hoping it's not too late to say, "I'm sorry we wasted your time." 3 voices. 3 failed attempts to understand neurodivergent minds. Are you listening for brilliance or just for what sounds familiar? Subscribe to Humans in the Loop and stay tuned.